So this day we had to wake up early, so I probably woke up around 6 or 5:30. Nobody else was up, so I was just exploring the hostel we were in, um, just seeing what there was. Because when we came in, we didn't go through everything. We just saw the kitchen and the lobby, but there was outdoor spaces as well. So I just walked around and was checking everything out. But it was real neat. They had upstairs, outside, downstairs, outside, some balconies. It was pretty cool. So I did that for probably 5 or 10 minutes while I hope Bonnie was probably getting ready at that time because we had to be at our place at 8 and I wasn't exactly sure where it was.
Which was an adventure.
So did that. We were both ready. We headed out, and for some reason I was sure the address was at the old train station, the old Porto train station. So we walked there.
So we were looking for the meetup with the tour group. We went to the train station and there was another tour group there, but it wasn't ours.
They had the same name. So we talked to her and she's like, oh, let me check and see if you're on our list. And we were on her list, so she called her boss to try to figure out where she was or where we were supposed to be, and she couldn't find out. And so I was finding the directions, the emails and stuff that I was sent, and found an address on the street, the same street that the train station was on. So then we left the train station and we were running down that street looking for like groups of people where we were supposed to meet. And then I guess I looked at the actual number on the address and it was like the first building on that street. So we turned around and went back, and it ended up being the building like catty corner from the train station. So we were right there and we finally made it, and we were on time and no problem. We were able to get on our bus.
Got on our bus. They told us the plan for the day. We were going to be making a stop in about an hour at a local town to explore, and then maybe another hour after that, a drive through the wine country, and then a stop and lunch at a winery. So the first town was just a historic town on a river that was beautiful. The air was cool. There's a famous bakery there, and we just had basically a little break time to explore on our own.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was old. It had a nice church. Bonnie got some pastries. It was on a river, so it was real pretty. So it was a good stop. But we didn't really do much there except walk through the town and see a cathedral and get the pastries. And then we made it to our first stop. Was that Ferreira?
Yes. Ferrier.
Ferreira.
We'll look it up and re-record it the right way and dub over.
But it was neat. I have not been to a winery. I've been to breweries before. I don't know. These places seemed much bigger and much more. It was a ton of wine. We got to walk through like their factory where they process it and not process it, where they ferment it. And it smelled super good. And it was really neat seeing the process, what they do.
And they explained why in this region, or different regions, like port, it's a misnomer. You think the city of Porto is famous for port wine, and actually this area, this winery, was famous for port wine, and it has to do with all of the factors of the soil and the temperature and a process of heating the grapes right before the fermentation. But I learned all that, and I didn't have any idea. But the grapes in this region of this winery were special for making the sweeter wine, the port wine.
So we got to do a tour of the winery first, and then they took us back to, it was kind of like a restaurant where we all would get to sit down, and they gave us lunch. They gave us 2 types of wines to start with.
There was a red wine and a white wine on the table, and then,
We had like a glass of port as well.
at the end.
Oh, at the end we had 2 glasses of port, like a dark one and a light one. And we sat by people from Britain.
There was a girl from England. And her
Spanish.
husband was from Spain, or fiance.
Well, they were
They
married.
had been
They were
married
on
at their
their-
anniversary,
They're,
and they were on their anniversary
Mhm.
or honeymoon. And then the American teachers.
Oh yeah, next to us.
Yeah, there were other teachers from America, from like Ohio.
Mm-hmm. But that was fun because we just sat down, ate, and drank, and met new people.
Family style
Mm-hmm.
lunch.
It was yummy food too. I was amazed by all the wine barrels. I didn't know the wooden wine barrels were made so large. That was pretty cool, I thought. And they're super old. They use wine barrels for hundreds of years. And I didn't know that. That was pretty cool too, to see all that.
Favaios.
Favaios was our first stop. And that's where we had lunch. And then we got back on the bus to drive to another winery, or was that the river?
Another winery.
Okay. And the drive was beautiful.
Gorgeous views.
The wine country there is
It's
amazing. Just so many rolling, huge hills and mountains, and just vineyards everywhere. Green everywhere. And the bus took us on a stop or two to see the scenic views. And then we went to the river tour. And that was just maybe an hour.
Yeah, at the most. I mean, it might have even just been 20 minutes up and back.
Yeah.
But just a different vantage point, to see the wineries on the hills.
Mm-hmm. Bonnie made a new Spaniard friend on the boat. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was just real pretty. And after the boat ride, we ended up at our second winery. And this one, they took us through part of their vineyards and told us about the climate, how they care for their grapes, how they sort their grapes, and lots of different stuff. They're not allowed to use pesticides on them. They're not allowed to water them. So it's really interesting. They're just pretty much slaves to the weather and to nature. That was real good. Then we got to tour their winery as well. It was fairly similar to the first one. Was still really informative and fun, and I enjoy walking through all the old wine barrels. I think it's neat. And I like the smell of the wine as well, so that's always fun. And then it took us upstairs to a room.
Tasting room.
A tasting room. I thought we were going to get to eat more. We were spoiled by the first one. But here we just sat down. They gave us 2 types of port that they made. And that was pretty much the end of the tour there, right?
Yeah, I think so. We just got back on the
bus.
It was a long day of driving,
Mm-hmm.
but the countryside views were beautiful. And the stops were worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. And the bus ride back was long. Everybody had to go to the bathroom halfway through. And they only made one stop on the way back. And everybody got out to use the bathroom. And we got home probably around 5 or 6, right before sunset. And the bus driver told us, or not the bus driver, the tour guide told us to go up on the bridge, go across the bridge to see the sunset. So after we got off the bus, we went home, dropped off our stuff, got water, and headed out to do that. And that walk was pretty neat. There's a ton of people doing the same thing. I mean, all of Portugal just has people walking everywhere, which is fun because people are everywhere. And lots of green spaces where there's music and everything. And the bridge was, not a subway. What's it called?
Train? Cable car or train?
Yeah, but it was a train. So as you're walking across the bridge, a train would come. And it's a super high bridge, too. From the bridge, you can see a lot of the city as well. And then on the other side of the bridge, there's like an old fort. And so we walked up that, and you could see, you look back on Porto, because across the bridge wasn't Porto. And you could look back on the city and see the sunrise, or not sunrise, the sunset. There's tons of people and like in the park and on the grass and music playing. So it was really pretty. And it was one of the best sunsets that we did see out there.
It would have been. I don't think we waited for this.
We didn't wait for it to go all the way down. It was mostly down, though.
It was mostly down, and we looked at each other and we said, I think we're hungry and we've seen sunsets before. This is pretty, but let's head back to town.
Yeah. So we walked around back to town. I think we were pretty direct about going back to town. And I don't know how we found this place.
We were looking for the inner, the old part of town, the inner city part, and turned up down where we thought that was, and just came upon this cafe on a corner. There was some outdoor tables that were full, and we saw the doorway entrance of a place, and we're like, is there room here? And the waiter said, yeah, sure, and took us downstairs to this like cellar part of the restaurant. It was super cute.
Yeah, it was quaint. There was only like 4 or 5 tables down there, so it was quiet. The waiter was real good, and the food was amazing. This was my favorite and best meal on the Portugal trip. I think I had seared salmon with like orange sauce on it, and vegetables and potatoes, and it was the best meal I've had in a long time. It was really good.
I had a spaghetti carbonara that was delicious.
And then it was pretty late after that. We just took our time eating. We ate slow and drank a little, and then went back to our hostel for the night, because the next day we had more driving to
Another
do.
Road trip.
So, yeah, it was a real fun day. If and when we go back again, I would not mind doing that whole thing over again, doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it would get old. But it was a real fun day.
Ditto.